Welcome to another episode of Diaries of a Life Coach. My name is Larissa Dalton, and I am your host. This podcast documents a journey of building a life coaching business where I talk about steps that we, as life coaches, take to create a company, build clientele. I talk about coaching experiences, discoveries, and transformations. Over the course of the last several weeks, I've been bringing on guest coaches with different focus to enrich my experience as well as yours. And today I'm pleased to introduce to you my next guest, who is Odette Coronel. Odette is a Jay Shetty alumni and a relationship coach. Odette, welcome to the show, and please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about how you got started in coaching.
Good morning, Larissa. Thank you so much for having me on your show. And as I mentioned earlier, I love the name Diaries of a Life Coach. I think it's very clever, and I think it's so helpful to fellow coaches and to everyone to hear your experiences as a life coach and all of our experiences as a life coach. So congratulations on your podcast.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And as you mentioned, I am a Jay Shetty certified life and success coach specializing in relationships. I'm also a mother of three. My children are in teens, early 20s, and I've been married to my husband for 22 years. I've also had a business with my husband for 25 years, and I have always been interested in self-help and personal development. I've been pretty much self-coaching myself my entire life from a very young age. I first became interested in self-help and personal development as a teenager. One major event in my life was I experienced an unexpected surprise surgery that I had to undergo. And I remember during that time, it was before childbirth. So I had never experienced so much physical pain in my life. And I remember thinking, I couldn't believe that I was able to endure it. Mm-hmm. And lo and behold, each day, once I went through that, I was getting stronger. My body was healing. I was feeling better. And I really learned how the body and mind were so resilient. We're really able to endure and overcome both physical and emotional pain. So that was a big aha moment for me. Mm-hmm. And I really became interested in the whole mind-body connection. And also, I was remembering that, I grew up in the 90s. I was a teenager during the 90s. So thinking back, I did watch a lot of the Oprah Winfrey Show. Uh-huh. And she would have these guests on there that I was fascinated by. That's where I first became exposed to people like, M. Scott Peck and Stephen Covey and Deepak Chopra, Marianne Williamson. I would then go and purchase their books. So believe it or not, the Oprah Winfrey Show has had a big positive influence on me and in my interest in personal growth and personal development. But, eventually I did get married. I started a business with my husband. As I mentioned, I had a family. During those early days, I also worked corporate before eventually just dedicating myself to my family and my business. And it wasn't until a few years ago where I was at a point in my life where my children were older. My business is pretty well established. So I was really kind of searching myself. I wanted to do something meaningful for me and personal to me that really had nothing to do with my family or my husband or my kids or our business. And I've always mentored and advised people around me. And although life coaching is not advising, it is something that's kind of in the same realm of helping people. Mm-hmm. So I started looking up coaching certification schools, and I came upon the Jay Shetty program. And I just really loved that it was life coaching, but it had that spiritual component to it. And it just really resonated with me. So I became certified, and I've been coaching primarily women and men, but primarily women that are married. They've been married for a while, and they've lost the spark in their marriage, which happens in long-term relationships. Yes. It doesn't mean that the marriage is over or that anything has gone wrong. It just needs a little bit of attention. So a lot of times when the marriage has lost its spark, sometimes we've lost our spark. So it's about
Yeah.
finding that spark within yourself as well. It's a big component to
Mhm.
putting that spark back in your marriage. And that's what I've been primarily working on with my clients.
For me, it was working with people one on one, like the end users, so to speak.
Right.
Because I work for a company that does great things still, but there was never that connection with the end user, the person who's actually going to use the product. But in life coaching, we work with end users, and so we see the impact that we make in people's lives, and I think that's extremely rewarding and satisfying. And I'm sure that that's how you feel as well.
Right, right. And you're working with people at a level where, it's their true selves. They're vulnerable. There's no mask, there's no front, there's no expectation of how they should be.
Hmm.
They're there at their truest, most vulnerable selves. And I think that that's beautiful, because that's when you're in touch with that authentic, true self, and you're willing to go deep and be vulnerable, that's when you can really make changes. And that's when you can really transform. And it's in that one-on-one setting where you're able to build that trust and that rapport
Hmm.
and really make an impact on your clients.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. So, Dad, tell me then, why are relationships so hard for most people?
Well, I like to think that life is hard,
Hmm.
not necessarily relationships. I think that life is hard, and if you are with the right partner, it's an opportunity to kind of lessen that load and that struggle, and it's something that you can go through together and grow through together. I like to think of it
Hmm.
that way. I think that a lot of times people choose a partner maybe for the wrong reasons.
Hmm.
Maybe it's for not wanting to be alone, or thinking that it's what you're supposed to do, just kind of get married and have kids, and it's just what everybody does. Or maybe it's for security, whether it's financial
Hmm.
security or you think you're going to get emotional security. And a lot of times people are not themselves in the beginning when
Hmm.
they're choosing a partner. First of all,
Yeah.
they're not clear in what they really want and what they really value in their lives. And so they're willing to morph into whatever they think their partner wants.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
it starts with being truly honest with yourself and also with your partner to make sure that you are on the same page, going forward. Um, so that's one component. I think people just not being honest with themselves and with their partners of what they want,
Going into it initially.
going into it initially. And
Hmm.
even once you're in a marriage, especially you've been in a long-term marriage, if you're used to just kind of morphing yourself in order to accommodate your partner, that's more of a codependent relationship instead of an interdependent
Hmm.
relationship where you have two whole and complete
Hmm.
people kind of coming together to create a life together. And you become a habit of
Mm.
behaving in this way, and you're just used to it. You're just used to being borderline unhappy, and you just
Yeah.
think that this is life, and you settle for this is life. And you never learn to truly communicate. You never learn how to communicate. Again, it all starts with yourself. So you never really communicate with yourself and be honest and open with yourself, much less with your partner. You don't develop that ability to communicate with your partner what your true vision is, what your true needs are, what your boundaries are, what your non-negotiables are. These are conversations that are important to have all along the way, rather than
Hmm.
just kind of going through the motions and letting resentment build through the years, or just settling through
Hmm.
the years until you get to the point where you realize, there has to be more to life than this.
Right. Right.
And that's often when people decide to make a change, when they're just, sometimes we don't change until we're just at the point where we're just at our breaking point, unfortunately. But
Yeah.
I like to challenge people to think that, relationships, it shouldn't be hard. It's work like anything is, but
Hmm.
it's sort of like the way that I like to think about it is, it's sort of like when we ask clients, or I like to ask my clients, when are you engaged in an activity where you kind of lose track of time, when you feel that you're in flow and you can do it for a long time and you're not worried about the time? That's how I like to think your interaction in your relationship should be. When you're with your partner, it shouldn't be work. It shouldn't be difficult. It shouldn't be uncomfortable. It should be enjoyable, even if you're having you have to communicate difficult things, even in those times, even during those difficult moments. It should still not be something where it's a hardship.
So what if somebody goes into a relationship, say at the time where, they don't know what they want? They truly, honestly don't know what they want. They find somebody that they perceive to be compatible. They agree. They say they get married. And now, they're exposed to maybe some self-help, maybe they're getting some coaching, and now they're understanding, more, understanding themselves more and understanding what they want. But they've sort of established these patterns in their relationship already. So what do you suggest, this person? Because ultimately what I've heard you say is that really marriage becomes an unhappy marriage when a person, one of the partners, becomes unhappy or recognizes that they're unhappy. So now this person recognizes, okay, this is who I am, this is where I need to be to become happy. How do they introduce that new discovery sort of into their marriage so that they don't create like this shock, like overwhelming sort of volcano? Oh, here I am. This is me now. How do they transition to that?
Well, I'm always going to go back to the fact that, be very clear on who you choose as a partner. Whoever you choose as a partner to spend your life with is going to affect or impact the quality of your entire life, your future children's life and everything. So I really think the first step is making sure that you're with someone that you respect, admire to a certain sense. And that's a very big part, part of it. So assuming that you're married to someone that you do love and respect and is not manipulative or a narcissist or anything like that, as you're growing as a person and you're becoming happy, your partner, what our partners want, what we want for our partners is for them to be happy. Ultimately, we want to be happy and we want our partners to be happy. So as your partner sees you becoming more of yourself and becoming happier, that should bring them happiness. That should bring, you're going to show up in your marriage and in your relationship with a different energy, with a happier energy, with more authentically. It's going to trickle down to your family, to your relationship and to your family. Like they say, if mama's not happy, nobody's happy in the house. And that's really true. Energy is very contagious. So that's one aspect of it. The other aspect is, as you grow, you can share with your spouse what you're doing and what you're working on and what you're learning. It doesn't mean they have to follow everything that you're doing or do what you do or be on that same path for you. But as as a partner, you should share what you're both individually doing in your lives and learning about. And as you share, they're going to learn as well. And either at the very least be happy for you, but there's no way that energy isn't going to somehow just, envelop both of you. So I think it would be a positive thing. I don't think there's a negative side to becoming a better version of yourself or to becoming happier.
Yeah. So, and I think you made an excellent point, and I now see flawed in my question because you don't change overnight. It's a process.
Right.
And hopefully when you do discover things about yourself that they're positive things and they make you a better person. So all you can do is enhance your marriage and enhance your own life versus, unless you go into on a 3-month discovery, then it could be a volcano.
Right.
When you come back. Right.
Right. Exactly. You need to be sure what you're getting yourself into. But, everybody, no one is perfect and we are all flawed. But the point is, we're all trying to do our best, the best that we can. And we're trying to learn from our experiences and continue to grow. And even if you don't have it all figured out, like I said, I've been with my husband since we were really young teenagers. Yeah. And obviously we didn't have it all figured out back then. And we still don't. This is not something, personal growth. I believe that our purpose as human beings, purpose of the human experience is to learn, to grow, and to evolve. You're never there. You're never reaching that summit. There's always going to be something to learn. There's always going to be an opportunity to grow. So
early, you mentioned the spark. sometimes we lose our sparks, and then sometimes our marriages lose that spark as well. Do you have, any practical tips or practical advice or like particular steps that we can take to reignite that spark?
Sure. Well, there's a few things to keep in mind.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, it's keeping communication open. I think that the number one issue in relationships is just lack of communication.
Mm-hmm.
We want to be heard, but we're not truly listening to our partners. We're not seeing things from our partner's perspective. We're creating stories or beliefs in our minds
Mm-hmm.
that are interpretations of whatever transpired or a particular event, but they're not necessarily the reality. So your partner might have one perspective and you might have another perspective. So keeping focused on the facts of the situation when
Mm-hmm.
communicating is a good first step. And also keeping in mind that you're both on the same team. You're both on the same page. It's not about being right or wrong. It's not a
Mm-hmm.
competition. The end goal is always what's best for the relationship, what's best for one another, and whatever is going to bring you closer together. So that's one thing. So communication is obviously key, but also little things like, I don't care how long you've been with your spouse, you should continue to be your husband's girlfriend, for example, or vice
Mm-hmm.
versa. You should continue treating each other with that love and tenderness and affection, no matter how long you are together. I think touch and intimacy is very important in any marriage, in any relationship. You should continue, holding hands and cuddling and, obviously sex. And it's a very important part of any marriage and maintaining the spark. And also
Have any tips on that?
just do it. Just do it. Really. Honestly, just do it because
Just do it.
just do it. First of all,
Just do it. Okay.
try to have regular date nights
Yeah.
with your spouse because and some time alone without the kids, without the stress of work. Try to do that. That's where the effort comes in. Like you'll have to, because we're so busy with all the
Yeah.
responsibilities. It's like going on a date night is like another thing to think about, another thing to plan. I get it. But you know what? Once you're out, you're going to feel good and
Yeah.
it's going to be worth it. And that will give you that opportunity to have these conversations.
Mm-hmm.
Because nobody wants to. I mean, think about when you were a kid. When I was a kid, and I grew up in a house where there was a lot of yelling and chaos, and I was totally comfortable with that. But if my parents said, "Oh, we're going to have a family meeting. I need to talk to you. Be in the living room in 20 minutes." Oh my gosh, I wanted to die. I didn't want to talk to my. I didn't want to have that conversation, right? So it shouldn't be something serious like that, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
going out and being on a date or going out to dinner or something with your spouse, going for a hike, going for a walk, holding hands, that gives you that opportunity to have these conversations, to reminisce. Because when we reminisce, that brings those, emotional feelings back together.
Want feelings back. Yeah.
Yes. And you talk about not just what happened, but what you loved about it. That's an opportunity to talk about what your values are without saying, these are my values. Like, oh, we had this experience together. Remember when this happened? What was special about it? What did we love about it? You have these discussions. And also always planning for the future. I think always planning for the future is an important part of a relationship, of founding a relationship. So anyway, scheduling those intimate moments together.
Mm-hmm.
These are all the moments that will bring you closer together and will bring you more intimacy. Even if you're just watching a movie at home and you're again, be close, cuddle. That should be a normal part of your relationship. At least for me, that's what I find, brings most closeness or whatever. And, and you mentioned sex and I said, just do it. And we're kind of joking, but really, sometimes in the long-term relationship, it's not going to be this spontaneous, like, oh, I want you now. It may be, but it's not always going to be like that. And sometimes you do just want to make the time for it. And
so it has to be that Wednesday night thing you do.
It doesn't have to be, but if it's like, you're not going to regret it. Once you do it,
Right.
it's not going to be like, oh man, I really wish I didn't do that. No, it's going to be fine. Let's get started. Just do it. And I think that it's very healthy and important part of a relationship and of
I agree.
maintaining that closeness together.
Yeah, I agree. How do kids, what role do kids play in your life? Now you said most of your kids are, 17 and up or something like that.
Yeah, my oldest is 21. I have an
Mm-hmm.
18-year-old and a 16-and-a-half-year-old.
Do they play any role in a decision making for you if you're trying to decide something for your family, like you and your husband? Do you bring your children in to sort of have the roundtable conversation?
Yes. I mean, we have, these types of conversations are very normal in my home as well. Even with our children, we talk about, I homeschooled my kids for most of their education.
Mm-hmm.
And a big part of it is, we have these conversations about the why behind things, why things important. Like the kids are literally, a part of discussing like why we should do the things we do, why we should behave the way we behave, why we make the plans that we make and our goals and all of that. And I think that's really important because there's a lot of talk now. You've got Dr. Shafali and stuff about conscious parenting and all of that. And when my kids were younger, I didn't get that. As a young mom, I did not understand that. But eventually, I did understand, and I did see the value of the kids really understanding why certain things are important, why certain behavior is expected of you. Because when they get that, even if they want to do something that you don't want them to do, and they don't agree in the moment, they're going to understand the why behind it, and they're not going to rebel. Or the other side of that, if they feel strongly that they should do this thing that you don't want them to do, they're going to be able to articulate why. They're going to know that, okay, if you want to do this thing that I don't want you to do, you need to be able to explain to me why it's important to you. So that is, I think it's very crucial to make your kids not be separate. We function as a family. That means that everybody's role in our family is important. Even with chores around the house, everybody has their chores. Everybody's responsible for their own thing. And in a household, everyone's role is important. And that's how we can function properly. In order to function effectively, everybody has to be a part of it. Of course, ultimately, my husband and I are steering the ship, and, we have the final say in certain things. Obviously, it depends what we're talking about. But in general, yes, we like to communicate a lot with our children and make them a part of our decisions and let them understand why we do the things we plan on doing and so forth.
Yeah, I really like that, because I think what you're teaching them is, like you said, to think through and articulate and find like their footing, so to speak, find where they are on the spectrum, where they fit in. I think that's a great skill. I commend you for that, for teaching that skill. I think that's great. So let me ask you this question. It's a little off, but your husband, your kids fell overboard and you had to save one of them. Who would you save?
Oh my gosh, I would drown with them.
Well, that's a great response. It's like, hey, we truly want to. Yeah, I like that.
I don't know. That's
we want to stay together. We want to be a family unit. Yeah. Do you have big family, Odette?
I do. I have a huge family. I have. I'm the oldest of three sisters, and we have a very close-knit family. Not just my parents and my sisters and my nieces and nephews and all of that, but cousins and aunts and uncles. There's no such thing as first cousin, second cousin, third cousin in my family.
Everybody's family.
Everybody's just family. Everybody's cousin. We're all very tight. As a matter of fact, years ago, we used to rent a hall for Thanksgiving and Christmas Eve and things like that, because we all wanted to be together. We're just all equally as close. And my husband has a very large family as well. So it's fun.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I have 5 brothers and 5 sisters.
Wow.
And most everybody has some number of kids. And so we had our mom's birthday here a month ago. And we literally had maybe 55 just like siblings and my parents and their kids, spouses.
Wow.
And and it was rough. It was a lot of people,
Yeah.
but it was great. I mean, it's memorable. It was fantastic, like they always grew, played games together, volleyball, cornhole, whatever we set up. It's fantastic, but it's just getting to the point where there's so many of us, like we can't contain it in one event, it has to be like cut into pieces,
Yeah, that's what has happened as my generation has gotten married and had children of our own. We're just literally getting so big. There's so many of us that we can't participate in the same activities like we used to, when I was growing up.
Yeah. No, it's funny. It's my daughter, my youngest. She's going into, she's going to be senior this next year. And so this year, some of her friends are graduating. So she's been invited to go to some graduation parties. And so last night she's like, Mom, I do not want to have one of those graduation parties. I'm like, well, what do you want? She's like, I want one of ours. I want to have volleyball. I want people to come and stay and like play games and do things and engage like we typically do,
Right,
and she's like,
yeah.
and I want to feed people. I don't just want to give them snacks. Like I want to feed them, like I want to cook and I want
a lot of food.
to feed them. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's
sure.
interesting. And I love that. I love that the kids also see that value in that family and in the community that just the family provides, and so I think
it's funny because food and music is an opportunity to bond. So
yes.
when having people over, you're hosting something, what better way to show that you appreciate that your guests, that you love and appreciate them is to, break bread, so to speak, with them and, to make sure that they leave satisfied and with, their bellies are full and whether it's dancing or playing games or whatever. We're big into games as well.
We do karaoke, a lot of karaoke as well.
Yes, we're karaoke. And we're big into board games and stuff like that too. It's just having fun, whatever it is that you consider, having fun.
Well, I would love to get a little video from your next party of you guys salsa dancing. I'd love to get a little video.
I could send you something on my phone now, probably.
You got plenty on your phone?
Sure. Yeah.
Well, as we wrap this up, I love some of these tips that you gave, practical tips that our audience can take in nurturing their relationships, because essentially that's what they have to be nurtured. And so some of the things that I think are, in my opinion, are more important are communication, touch. You said dating in a way, continue dating, have sex, definitely have sex. And so I think these are great tips.
Not taking each other for granted, all those little things. And, again, the reason why I say having dates or, scheduling, making sure you have consistent special time alone together is because like anything else, it's got to be this, you have to make a habit out of it. It has to be your lifestyle, just like, personal growth and personal development. It's not something that I learned this, I'm done. It's got to be a lifestyle, way of life.
It's a lifestyle. Yes.
Right.
So make your, nurture your relationship and make it part of your lifestyle. I like that.
Right. Yeah. Decide what you want it to look like and do it. It should be fun and happy and even in difficult. Also, one thing I want to say with communication is it's best to have another reason. I'm really advocating these date nights. Another reason to schedule date nights is because that's an opportunity to have these conversations and not in the midst of when you're angry or not when you're hurt or sad or something. It's best to just kind of have these conversations when you're not feeling these negative emotions, when you can be a little bit more rational and a little bit more, take a step back and be more objective. Yeah,
that's a great tip. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
So, well, thank you so much for being here. I know that I've enjoyed speaking with you, and I'm sure our audience will as well. And now I look forward to connecting with you again outside or in the near future.
Thank you for having me. This was a lot of fun. At some moments, I think I forgot that we were recording.
Yeah, well, that's
and having too much fun. I hope everything came out okay. But I had a lot of fun. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. And if anybody would like some relationship coaching, visit my website, odettecoronel.com.
Absolutely. Is that the best way to reach you?
That's the best way to reach me because right on there you can contact me. You can book a free discovery call. And all of my social media is linked to my website as well.
Excellent. And I know that you're on Instagram.
I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, LinkedIn, and I've got my website. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Odette.
Thank you.
Have any questions about today's episode? Just head over to my website, larissadalton.com/contact-info and send in your request, or simply email me at larissadalton10@gmail.com. You can find my podcasts wherever podcasts are found. If you would like me to cover a specific topic, also submit that request via website or my email. Connect with me on Instagram at Larissa_Dalton, or book a complimentary session with me at larissadalton.com/coaching. Thank you again for joining me today, and I hope to see you next time.